Hello, students. For today's lecture, I'm going to use this kind of hybrid, so you don't have to stay at the campus. You can just watch this video, and this video will continue as the last time we discussed about how to set up a Spring Framework Java application. Last time, we discussed about how to create a Maven project, right? Then we kind of use the GitHub. Let me just open the GitHub. So we kind of opened a GitHub repository. We created a repository over there. So created a repository. After that, you created the same name as the repository name. So the folder will get override on your local storage, which is for me, it was here. This Java project and this folder tech2 permission. So once you have this tech2 permission repository download from the GitHub, you will see this folder. Once you create a project by using the same name tech2 permission, it will go over there. The Eclipse will go to the same folder to add additional information over there. Last time we talked about when you set up a Maven project, how those kind of Maven files get set up, right? So I haven't started each one of the part, but at today's this kind of video recall for this lecture, today's lecture. So this URL, if you have a server name, you definitely can change this name to. So for this tech2 for the school, the tech2 URL looks like this. That's it, right? Because this is the entire the link, right? So which means for your Tomcat, it needs to be the project need to be hosted at this level of the folder. Web application, Tomcat. When you look for the web apps, look for this root. But first thing, you need to remove all of them. Then unzip your Maven plus the Docker image copy over from this Maven workspace into the folder. You need to switch the name on a Docker file. But today, I'll just go over this POP files a little bit quick. This POP file, if you need a properties, if you have something you don't want to change one by one of the dependency, you can give a property name here, then references later on add those kind of dependency. So the example would be, this is the property name, and this name equal to this one, which is the value of this. Right, this is a Spring. This is a Spring dependency for all of them. When you use Spring and you're going to use the Spring as a web application, there is certain library that you need. First thing is you definitely need the core, then you need the web support. Because this is a Spring MVC design pattern, you need the web MVC library as well. Because you're going to use Spring annotation, Spring context, you need this library. This is transaction, which is the Spring going to embed it with another framework called Hibernate. You need this transaction library. The ORM is for the database layer. Spring going to manage that. You need this object library. If you're going to use the JUnit test, Spring also provides you a Spring test library there. If you have any like security you want to apply to the Spring framework, like if your, for example, if this tech tool application that you need to create a certain RESTful API, then for those kind of API, you definitely need certain, security group to protect those kind of API endpoint. Then the Spring security would be the best choice here for you to use. For that, because it's a REST application, you need a security web, security configure. The security for secure the API endpoint, it is a security OAuth 2, because the OAuth 2 needs to use the JWT. So this is a JWT dependency for this library. And for autofill, when you make an API call, even just for an API call, also non-API call through the MVC design pattern controller, you need some kind of data auto binding there. And this 3 library, it is for that. If you miss that, even you have the security over there, the security will give you an error says you need certain those kind of request object transaction, those kind of binding object. For this HappyNet, it is another framework for Spring framework. This is a very famous one. For Spring project, HappyNet, it is a persistent layer for your database connection when you have a database embedded over there. After that, you need Java Persistency API to support the HappyNet core. After that, the GA or DPCP, this kind of common DPCP2, and those kind of common DPCP. These 3, or no, this 4 is for support the database connection pool. Those things will go over there to manage this kind of project and for the database connection. And if you use MySQL, this is the MySQL database dependency. If you use Oracle, this is for the Oracle database dependency. And for additional JWT, this is kind of additional things. If you do have some kind of RESTful API calling from outside, they're not using the OAuth 2, those kind of strategy, they definitely will ask you to put some kind of JWT token as the request header, as the like APIX, those kind of things that give a JWT value there. And this is the library for that. Because this is a Java project and this is the JSP dependency, if you don't have this JSP dependency, which means your Spring Maven project only can support API, which is the RESTful API function, it cannot host any type of page over there. And this JSTL is for the Java servlet. But if you don't have Java servlet plus the JSP page, this kind of function over there, you don't need to have this. This is for the Apache Common Code doc, and if you use those kind of Tomcat to host that, you need this. When you look at this part, this is for your project only. You have certain things you want to upload through the Spring security, through the Spring framework. This is the JSON package. For the JSON package, I really like this Google version. I'm about to give you kind of a little bit detail about how to use this Google JSON package there. This is really fun, awesome, fun things there. It can help you to prepare some kind of JSON string instead of yourself to build a JSON string there. So it can turn a Java object into a JSON string. Log4j, and this is another key part for the project. The Log4j, it is a component for your Maven Spring Framework key things there, because everything you want a better logs, right? Otherwise, you will have a hard time when the system going some kind of wonky or some kind of spooky status there, and without log, you're not able to find any type of a solution to address something happen over there. Okay, for build part is definitely for the Maven to control how once you try to deploy the Maven project into a package there, how the Maven should follow the order. As the top one, it's a final name, which is the project name. The source directory, this line will definitely tell Maven to go there to compile those kind of Java class. And for the resource, it's definitely to tell the Maven where you host those kind of project resource over there, like application property, password, or some kind of other resource, static resource you want to place over there. Because it's Maven, you need a Maven Eclipse plugin. Otherwise, the Eclipse will now go there to pick up the Maven. Because it's Maven, you need to tell Eclipse you're going to use Maven compiler to compile this kind of project. For this Maven WAR plugin, which is because I'm going to use Docker. For Docker, if you only have a WAR file there, right? The Eclipse won't understand what kind of WAR file we need to copy over, because for Docker, as last lecture I introduced there, that I have Docker image file different than this yourself local testing things there. So for you to use Docker and the Eclipse and the Tomcat test at the local, this is the structure for you to define two different WAR files for your testing. The below one, this one is definitely for the Docker. The top one is for your local Tomcat to recognize. This plugin is for Maven to let Maven understand, because I integrate with GitHub repository and I want to name the Docker file as a very specific version name there by using those kind of git command time, abbreviates code, and the tag name over there. And this is the plugin. Another main part is for Maven to talk to the Docker, how, by using Maven to let Maven, it is about to use Maven to make Docker image, rather than after you have Maven compiled it, you go over there to run a Docker command, separately. So this plugin is for you to let Maven to understand that we need to use Maven to build the Docker image, instead of Splitly, you build those kind of library. Okay. For this project to have Docker set it up over there, only with POM file is not enough. We need other as well. Let me go open another file, another folder. Let me just copy something over there. So for Maven to understand and to build for you a Docker image, you need Docker file and Docker Compose file. For the Docker file, the first thing you definitely need to define what type of image you would like to use. For campus, because it needs a proxy, right? you can uncomment this TURNA. If you don't need the proxy, just comment them out. Then you need to let the Docker file to tell the Docker server how to build the image, right? You need to set up a time zone over there. Because it is a Tomcat web app, somehow when you copy something with a new file there, a Docker image, it will always to create a Tomcat web apps with a root folder there. How to remove everything as a clean web apps folder, run to let the Docker file to run this command. After that, you need to also create a log folder for log4j to create this type of tool log file. After that, because of by using this image, the Tomcat will always get created by new, and there's no new server file. So you have to copy one from your project base into the image base. And you can see there's two elements, one called WAR file, one called WAR file name. And you can say copy the WAR file, which is this one I defined as the POM file at the very bottom. This is the WAR file that I defined it. Then once you copy into there, you need to give a WAR file name. Otherwise, once you have this file copy over to the Tomcat web app, the web app will unzip that zip file, unzip this WAR file as the WAR file itself. Otherwise, you have to change this name. So that's why I have a WAR file name get copied here, because you need to let the Docker know that I copy this file into this one, and then you have to change the name there. Then this command, it is for the Tomcat to start. Okay, so far everything's good. Then we switch to the Docker Compose. Because of we are going to use Docker file and the Docker server, instead of you manually to store and shut down the Tomcat application, you need the Docker Compose. Otherwise, you will go over there to type the Scala command yourself. So Docker Compose, this file, it is for you just run one command instead of to type an entire Docker command to restart a container. And this is the one. And for here, definitely there is certain name that I have to change it, which is I need to change here. Tag to a permission, then I need to container name. So for me, I need to change this as well. I need to change this to name. Also, for the Docker Compose, it needs to know what folder you refer to, which is you need to refer to this folder. If I change that to, there's a value, which is you need to sync the container log file to your host folder. That way, you can easily to check this log file. After that, if you have yourself custom Docker network port and IP address, you have to define over here. If you don't, just leave these two things away. You don't need to worry about that. So for the port, by giving this IP address here, instead of nothing IP address over there, this IP address put there is to literally just tell the Docker, your host Docker server, this Docker file, this Docker server only can access from the host local rather than from outside. So this is for security that we need to refer to. And env, this is a sync file, configure file for this the project version, and the I please do the variable connect to this .env file, which is outside. When you copy those kind of things to the server, you have to create this env file. Okay, so far we kind of pretty much go with those kind of Docker Compose, Docker file, and PAL files configuration. The next step for us is to go to configure the configuration. Because of we are using the Spring 5.x, there are certain things that are a little bit different. So the first thing for your project naming convention, see if you can match to this kind of style. The first thing you need to have this file at least. Let's go over with this first, the app configure first. The app configure is where you need to set it up and to tell the Spring Framework how your project going to start and what kind of thing it needs to get configured. So first thing, you need configuration annotation, because this project, it is a Maven project. Maven MVC project, you need to enable web MVC. Somehow, if you need a timer, like Spring timer, you need to enable this async annotation there. By giving this component scan line, which means you tell the Spring Framework to scan the entire project structure to looking for those annotation words. So the best practice to have this get set up, we need another package, which is where you're going to store static object value there, which is this common file, the content file, not common file, content file. So from here, because I copy over, so I need to change this package name space. You can see how the location for the project name. I definitely need to change this into this one. And you can see here, because I put the references, there's this content.system package, which means the content is this class, and the system package is definitely one of the object. So I need to change this in order to have it to references and know that I have this system package then point to here. Because of this is the folder structure for Spring to scan the entire project. It has always been good to have the project to scan this type of namespace, which is we need to change this to this. And this is just some other convenient things. If you need it, you keep for yourself. You can just copy my those kind of structure there. If you don't, you can literally just remove them. And some other convenient kind of static final. What is static final? Which means those object value cannot be changed. So continue going scroll down. This is for the system security. So I put those kind of static name over here, and this for the RESTful being some kind of author method, some kind of those kind of author type name a different type, and on base definitely for this project, it doesn't need it. But for those kind of date format, this is after kind of years I experience, I kind of just put all those kind of password name format here. Select, this is select for project access, because you don't have any. If you have some kind of outside source of those kind of API, you can put those kind of things there. Otherwise, you don't need it. Even just for this project, it doesn't need it. And this is for the Slack. Why is it Slack? It is about Slack. Let me see how to spell. Yeah, it's a Slack. I put it wrong. Comment there, Slack. Yep. No, sorry, this is not for the Slack. This is definitely for another type of application. Okay, so we don't need it. This is Slack icon. Okay, this is pretty much for the application configuration. After that, you need another file for the Spring project configuration, that is app initializer. Because the initializer need some kind of rule configuration class, you need to reference this, the app.configure. It is the rule configure file for it. Because some of them, I use those kind of, why I use those kind of content value. So I have those kind of things referenced over there. This is servlet mapping. So for this kind of servlet mapping, it definitely point to this /. This is the filter. So as you can see, I have a cross. This is a cross filter, which means the cross filter is this one. Let me copy this one here. So definitely you need those kind of things in your HTTP request header. Otherwise, it will definitely, when you have some API integrated over there, if there's some kind of domain not matched to each other, it would definitely get messed up this entire project. And why there's an if statement for this option? This option is definitely for the author token sitting there. So if you have that, you need to keep it here as this one. So any type of option call for another server to check your author token, this is the right block for you to configure. Then this is another one. This is for the content, or this is for your application to handle password. So this is on base for this project. We don't need that for author search people. We may need it. For this project, definitely, it may need it. So instead of to every time when you have a property files located at the resource, folder, you need a property reader. You can use Spring provides this annotation way when the application initialized it. The Spring will go to those kind of property file to read all those value out and store into a JVM memory. Be ready to be used anytime. Next one, it will be the system value.configure. It's the same thing. It is definitely those kind of for configuration. So because the environment for the campus, we have dev environment, we have production. This is why I put the environment over there. Now we will have this kind of DB schema on base definitely for this project. It doesn't need it. Also too for file RESTful API call. Now for this project, it doesn't need it. For author on base access, no, it doesn't need it for this. This is for Slack. Definitely you do need it because somehow, no matter what, if there is something that you want to immediately to receive some kind of alert, try to use some kind of social media, those kind of application to help you to monitor those things. And Slack, it is definitely another one that I do really like to use it. So that's why there's this Slack webhook over here. Okay, this is the pretty much for the configuration. And I'll keep talking about other things there here because somehow I do need you guys to understand how those things get configured. So I'm going to do some kind of a little bit things here. Otherwise, we talk about other things on Wednesday. So for MVC project, you definitely need a DAO folder. After the DAO, you need a service folder. Because it's MVC, you also need a, not from this label, from this label, you need a controller folder. Once you have that, you may need some kind of utils folder where utils for package where you can put a lot of static Java function there, like generate. Let me just copy one. Something like a day those kind of date convert, get a current tab. Once you have the class and the function, once you have this function marked as static, which means those static function will be directly get called rather than you have to go over to new a object before you're using it. So those functions can be directly used once you have those kind of project, those kind of class name get referenced. Now we talk about the DAO folder. DAO folder, it is a folder where you handles database layer transaction. Everything, those kind of requests are passed along from the controller all the way down to the model MVC, right? From the controller to the model. DAO, it is a place where you're going to there to define database function place. For the service layer, this is where you're going to handle the data collected by the controller that passed away to here at the service layer. You need to handle all those kind of like a data logic. The controller place, it is the only place you can apply a little data process logic. You cannot, handle all the logic at the controller side. So because something we need to hide behind over there. Otherwise, you will explore those kind of risk and your code risk and the logic risk under some kind of somebody, hacking your application. Okay, so far we're all good. And for our Wednesday class, I will continue to finish this kind of DAO service and the controller package, those kind of things, how to make the entire application, fully running over there. Alrighty, bye.